Hey, I'm Tyjay Foster with Keller Williams Greenville Central, and I'm here with Robert Tyree with On-Q Financial. So what would you require someone that don't know where to start? How would they go about coming to you for the pre-approval or the pre-qualification process?
We personally are a technology company, and we can have them receive a mortgage phone app that they can go on to, and they can get some information there. That's a way that they can also make application through that phone app. And that provides me with information that I could start as a basis, as a foundation for their pre-approval. And then I would reach out to them to really tighten up the pre-approval, make sure I have good income figures and understand their situation completely. From there, I have a credit score, I have a complete application. There might be some documents that I request as part of things so they can get, I can get an accurate picture on what they conveyed to me on the application. We need to document that so that it is considered a pre-approval and not pre-qualification. A pre-qualification is simply taking information by phone or by internet and pre-qualifying them based on that. But a pre-approval is when we receive documentation to validate the items on the application, and that gives us a more firm pre-approval.
Okay, and as far as documentation, what documentations would you require them to have up front?
Generally, I would say the 2 years tax returns, 2017 and 18 right now. If you haven't filed 18, it would be you would have an extension that you'd have to provide, a formal extension. But generally, the last 2 years of tax returns, not the state, just the federal. We'd have to get your W-2 statements for each of the last 2 years to show those. Even if you haven't filed your 18, we'd have to go 16, 17, and 18 on the W-2 statements. And then your most recent pay stubs for a 1 month period and bank statements for the past 2 months. We do have a verification of assets procedure that we're doing now where we can actually obtain the banking balances and transactions without having the buyer provide a bank statement. So if the client would like to set up the verification of assets in the beginning of the process, that is an option to avoid that documentation on the bank statement. But if not, we would need 2 months bank statements, all pages. A copy of the driver's license is pretty standard. Any other assets that they might need to document, 401ks, IRAs, stocks, bonds. That is kind of an overall general list of the majority of the things we need for the process. Now, during the pre-approval, I would only request what's needed to make that pre-approval.
All right. And what would you say for like a client that'd be like, hey, what's your credit score needs to be? You know, and what would be a
lot of people think we need to have a 700 to get qualifiable to buy a home, but that's simply not the case anymore. We go down to a 580 credit score. We have a program that can offer some assistance at 580 while funds are allowed. Generally, 620 credit score would be where the down payment assistance programs start for first-time home buyers. Of course, the higher the score, the better the financing that's available. 580 is the lowest, 620 is probably the norm of what you'd want to have or greater. There is some 100% financing on USDA allowed down to a 620 credit score, which is good as well. Yeah. Great financing, but those homes are only available in certain areas. So you got to be kind of careful with where you're locating, your financing for USDA.
And, since we're speaking on USDA, because I work with a lot of those clients, and a lot of my past clients are USDA clients.
Yeah.
What would be your terms on that? Speaking on USDA, like, would you recommend that, or are there any 100% loans for with city limitations, basically?
Yeah. There is some 100% no MI programs that are out there and offered by banking institutions, but they offer a much higher rate. You have to have a good credit score, and it offers a higher rate as part of things, and that is going to it's not going to achieve the client obtaining the best financing. So USDA is one of the only 100% true programs where you can still get a comparable rate, and it is good financing. It's going to be better, in my opinion, than the down payment assistance programs, because the mortgage insurance typically is a third of what the USDA would, it's a third of what the FHA programs would be.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would offer you a lower payment for the same purchase price.
All right.
What you're buying.
And then I'm gonna ask you one more question. I don't want to hold you for a long time. For the first-time home buyers out there, what do you require for a job history?
Job history, if you've been in the same field, you can change jobs as long as we can show that you've received a few paychecks at a new job. I would say that we can use school history as well, which a lot of people don't realize, but we can take a history of being in school as long as there is a degree obtained and you're going into that field. We can use that school history as job history.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool, and then you can go right into day one on the job and make that usable because we're using say a 2 or 4 year history of that school, going to that school and getting that degree. But the degree has to be in what you're going into. You can't have a business degree and go into nursing, or something like that. It has to correlate with what you're going into. But I would say typically you'd want to have 6 months of employment. Some programs will require that you at least have a 2 year history of either school or employment prior. That's pretty common with FHA. But as far as being on a job, you can be on a job for a month or so. That's okay, especially if you were in the same line of work. But I would say typically we want to see a 2 year history of working some kind of job over a period of time. Certain higher score programs would allow for a little bit less with conventional financing, but it just depends. There is a lot of case-by-case scenario. That's why I really recommend that people contact me and let us walk through everybody's individual situation. No two client circumstance is the same.
Yes.
They need different things looked at and analyzed, and we will find the absolute best program for them and situation, but no two clients are the same when it comes to financing.
Okay, and this is the last statement. Could you tell the first-time home buyers why they should work with Robert Tyjay and OnQ Financial?
We offer a lot of different incentives for doing business. We have a 15-day guaranteed close, which is very quick in our industry. Yes. We guarantee that we will close by either that 15-day period or whatever contract period you have, whether it's 20, 30 days. But we'll do a guaranteed close where we'll pay the buyer and seller $1,000 each if we don't close on that date. Okay. Wow. Now there are terms that the client has to provide documents in a timely manner, and there can't be certain appraisals that are taking too long to allow us to close within the needed time frame. So there is some parameters around that, but it is a way that we're putting more money where our mouth is to close within the time frame that's been allotted to do so. And that's something that's really important because we can put the client in jeopardy of earnest money being lost or losing appraisal or inspection cost, and we don't want to do that. So we're guaranteeing people to have that closing date. Also, we have a price match guarantee that if Tyjay refers a client to me and they get offered something from another banking institution or another lender that is surpassing what we can offer, we will match that in order to keep that business with the client. So you're guaranteed to get the best financing through us, rate-wise and cost-wise. That's another option. Myself personally, I'm the branch manager for East Greenville, and I'm available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night, 7 days a week. So if your client has a question on Saturday morning, they can wake up and call me or text me, and I'm available. They don't have to wait until Monday or even Tuesday if it's a bank holiday to get that answer.
That's great.
Our technology makes everything simplified. Our motto is mortgages simplified. It's a very technical process that we try to simplify for the clients, because especially the first-time home buyers have a lot of anxiety and fear, but we love our clients. We like to treat them well, and that's why we choose to work together, and definitely can show them a good process and make it a lot more simplified than they probably think it is.
Yes. Well, thank you for your time.
Awesome.
And hopefully that was some great information for you guys out there, and we're looking forward to helping you with your first home buying process.